Okay, now that we have Active Directory installed, as we've just seen, we can now go and start adding computers and users. However, before we do that, we're going to configure DHCP, because when we load up our second 2012 machine, this being server 2, it will load up without any IP address, because we want this one to get an IP address from a DHCP server. So I'm just starting this up in the background. We'll go in and have a look at that. This machine, remember, has been installed the exact same way as the original machine itself. So we still have a warning up here about notification. So we're going to go to this notification and we're going to complete the DHCP configuration. This is a very straightforward process, and we walk through a wizard here to create a DHCP scope. We're going to use the following credentials, training being our domain/administrator. We're going to commit that, and it's going to create some groups for us and authorize the DHCP server. The DHCP server has to be authorized for it to be allowed to issue IP addresses in an Active Directory domain. This is all fine. We actually have our AD here, so this has all been done. Once we've done that, basically we are now no more notifications, and again there's just post-employment complete the DHCP configuration. I can take that off now, and we're back with no more notifications. If I go to my tools, I'll now have a DHCP menu, and when I expand DHCP, you'll see that it's our server here. So what we're going to do is create a scope of DHCP addresses. So we right click on IPv4 and we create a new scope, and we go next on the wizard. I'm going to call this one training, because this is the scope for the train domain. Next on that. Now if you remember, the IP address of the server is 10. We have it popping up here and populating here, just double check on it. So it's 10.0.0.1. And we also, if you remember rightly, we set the default gateway to be 10.0.0.100. There's our settings. And there's our, now the fact that it says 127.0.0.1 means that it's the same machine. So the DNS server for all our clients will be 10.0.0.1. So the two addresses we need is the DNS address and the gateway address. So when we go to our scope of IP addresses as per the wizard, we are going to start off with 10.0.0. And I'm going to start this one off at 20. And I'm going to end it at 30, because again we don't have too many machines. So that'll be starting address 20. The first IP address issued should be 20. We'll have 11 IP addresses. We're going to have a 255.0.0.0, which is the default for Class A address for the clients, for the subnet mask. We are not going to add any exclusions. We're going to leave at least out for 8 days. We are going to configure some additional options such as the gateway, and here we have, what is our gateway? 10.0.0.100. We add that in. Next on that, and it now asks us for the domain name and DNS servers. As you can see, it's already got 10.0.0.1 in there. We could type in here srv1_2012 and resolve it, and you'll see it's the same address, 10.0.0.1. So we already have it in here, so we can leave that. We can remove that one and add that one. Doesn't make much difference. Check it to make sure DNS is running on that box, which it is, so that's fine. Next on that, no win server. We need to activate the scope, because if it's not activated, it won't be listening for requests. And there is our scope. Okay, and there's our address pool, 10.0.0.20 to 30. And there's our address leases. Currently there are no leases given out. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go back to our second 2012 server, and we're going to log on to that machine, because this machine should be able to get an IP address from the DHCP server. So we now log on to that machine. And of course this is all dependent on your virtual set box settings, that they're both on the same network, etc. Okay. So when the server manager opens up, again, like we did with the domain controller, we will have to rename the computer, etc. But we'll have to also make sure that it gets an IP address. And basically, if I refresh this at this stage, I can see that I still have nothing. Okay. So if we go to the network adapter here, and you right click on it, you can open up Network and Sharing Center. Let's just check that it is actually got or configured for DHCP, which is the default. And when I expand this up, there's my change adapter settings. Just let's make sure that it is actually set for DHCP. Obtain IP address automatically. Okay, now I had this machine started up before we activated the scope, so it may not have picked up the IP address yet. So if we go to a command prompt, so I right click on your start button, command prompt admin, and in here we type in ipconfig, we will see what IP address it has, and it currently has a self-assigned address 169.254. I'm now going to do an ipconfig /renew, basically sending it out to get another IP address. And you can see it's actually picked up train.local. So yes, I do want to be able to browse the network. And I now have 10.0.0.20, 255 being the subnet mask, and there is my default gateway. If I do an ipconfig /all, I should see that I got it from 10.0. So there's my DHCP server, 10.0.0.1. There's the lease obtained, there's the lease expired, or when it will expire in 8 days, and there's my gateway, and there's my DNS server as well. So everything is running smoothly on that, okay, and it's coming from train.local. So now I actually have a proper IP address. If I go to local server, I should see that it gives this out to me down here on server 2, and there it is, assigned by DHCP. If I go back and refresh my leases, there's my machine server 2. Now we also then look and we see that it's in a workgroup. So basically in our next video we'll have a look at adding join the computer to the domain. Okay, so we will come back to this in the next video.